Ryan Grimm of The Intercept did some math on the GOP tax bill, and he found something that's pretty interesting. The GOP plan is the biggest tax increase in American history, by far. So, what's funny is that nobody says that on the Democratic side. And, this gets to the heart of one of the many reasons why Democratic messaging is complete and utter garbage. Because most of the objections that the Democrats had to this tax bill, it was procedural, and it was process-related. So, for example, Chuck Schumer tweeted out something along the lines of, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could actually sit down and work together in a bipartisan way? I want to work with the Republicans, but they're making that impossible." The Senate Democrats tweeted out literally like a picture of Ronald Reagan with a quote of Ronald Reagan about bipartisanship or something. And I think that pisses off millennials and people on the populist left more than the Democrats will ever know. Because look at the Overton window. The Overton window is the Republicans are out there like, we're going to give a tax break for private schools. We're going to give a tax break for private jets. We're going to, eliminate the capital gains tax and eliminate the estate tax and give all the money to the rich. And we're proposing our Fuck the Poor 2017 Act. And the Democrats are like, "Oh, I wish I could work together in a bipartisan way with these people." So the Overton window is way off to the right, where the far right are damn near fascist, and the so-called left are center-right. So for the Republicans to see no limit to how far right they go, and the Democrats to always meet them halfway, means we never get left policy implemented. And they could say, no matter how crazy the idea is, the Democrats will always be like, "Yeah, I wish we could work together." Why would you say that? This person is like, their ideas are literally going to kill people. Literally. Hey, we're increasing health insurance premiums by over 20%. So millions of people are going to lose their insurance. Well, we should meet halfway. No meeting halfway. Fuck that guy. He's your enemy. He's the enemy of Republican voters, too. Republican politicians are the enemy of Republican voters. So your job should be to go out there and to make the case to Democratic voters and Republican voters, hey, he's your fucking enemy. Not, I think I'm going to work with him. I just wish he would be a little bit more reasonable. Nonsense. It's like going out there, Charles Manson or Jack the Ripper. If only they were slightly more reasonable, I would love to work on bipartisan legislation with them. No, say that motherfucker's Charles Manson. He's Jack the Ripper. He's going to kill you. His fucking plan is going to raise your taxes, and you already could barely keep the lights on and feed your kids. So, this is one of those arguments the Democrats could make where they flip it. They're not like begging for bipartisanship. They're like, the Republican tax plan is the biggest tax increase on the middle class in U.S. history. Full stop. Because then what do? You put them on the defensive. And now the conversation is whether or not the Republican tax plan is the biggest tax increase on the middle class in U.S. history. And they're going to say, no, our tax plan is not the biggest tax increase on the middle class in U.S. history. But even the fact that they have to repeat that is going to make people go, wait, why are you having to deny that? Is it the biggest tax increase on the middle class in U.S. history? This is how you frame a debate. This is how you frame a discussion. And of course, in the case of this, the facts are on your side. Ryan Grimm lays it out in perfect detail exactly how that's the case. So he explains, everybody is calling this a $1.5 trillion tax cut. That's how people are referring to it. But in reality, it's a $6 trillion tax cut. So it doesn't cut taxes $1.5 trillion. It cut taxes $6 trillion, but it also raises $4.5 trillion in taxes. So do you understand that distinction that they're making? When you go into the specifics and you see how they came to that, $1.5 trillion tax cut number, that's accounting tricks. Because they cut $6 trillion in taxes, but they also raised a new $4.5 trillion. So guess who gets the increase? And guess who gets the reduction? You guessed it, the middle class gets the increase, the rich get the reduction. So 80% of the cuts, 80% of them go to the top 1%. They have the nerve to call it the biggest tax cut. This is all for the people. All the Democrats have to do is say exactly what I just said to you right there. They're lying. This is the biggest tax increase on the middle class in U.S. history. It raises middle class taxes $4.5 trillion. Where are the cuts going? Top 1%. 80% of them go to the top 1%. The corporate tax rate is cut. The alternative minimum tax, which is a millionaire's tax, that's cut. The estate tax is eliminated. Dividends tax cut. All of these are for the rich. In fact, according to the Congressional Budget Office, if you make $75,000 a year or less, which is the overwhelming majority of the country, you're going to get a tax increase when all's said and done. So if I was one of the Democrats, I would be on the House floor. I would give a speech where I might say just that sentence over and over to get press attention. I might get up there, have my sheet of paper in front of me, and I'd say, esteemed colleagues, I'd like to talk to you today about this tax plan. This Republican tax plan, this Trump tax plan, is the biggest tax increase on the middle class in American history. And people would be like, oh my goodness, how is he saying that? And I would just repeat that over and over and over. This is the biggest tax increase on the middle class in American history. Imagine if a Democrat goes up there, says that over and over for 30 fucking minutes. There's not a single news outlet in America that wouldn't run that story. You know, it's weird. This senator got up there and he said that same line over and over for 30 minutes. But now that's everybody's headline. That's everybody's headline. But by the way, when all was said and done, this passed. The Democrats didn't have the numbers. To be fair to the Democrats, every Democrat voted against it. It's how you frame the argument, though, that matters in the long run, because that's how you appeal to the voters, and then that's how you win elections so that you have the numbers where you can get your policies implemented. But when all your arguments are, yeah, well, bipartisanship is good, then you're not going to get people excited to go vote for you because you have no core message. If your argument is always compromise, well, then there is no position that's crazy enough for you to reject out of hand and rail against. And that's the point, is that there is no position the Democrats are willing to not negotiate with. Let's do torture and invade another random country. I'll meet you halfway. No, that's where you say you're fucking wrong and here's why, and you make your case. And it would have been harder. That's the point, man, is you may have been able to chip away just 2 more Republicans from voting for this thing. If the way you framed the debate was, why are you raising taxes? Why are you doing the biggest tax increase in American history? How are you going to explain that to your voters? You're going to explain to your voters that you ran on tax cuts and now you're doing the biggest tax increase in American history? How are you going to explain that to your voters? You know you're going to lose, right? You know there's no way you're going to get reelected. I'm just telling you right now. There's literally no way you're going to get reelected. When you campaigned on tax cuts, now you're doing the biggest tax increase in middle class history. You're a fucking liar. You're a liar. That's what you are. You're a fucking liar. And that's the way you win. That's the way you win. But of course, the Democrats are not strong enough to do that. To their credit, they all voted against this plan. By the way, they were given 2 hours to read 495 pages. Some of the pages, they literally had giant X marks through it and scribbled handwriting right next to it. So this was, a radical heist. It's class warfare declared by the rich on the middle class and the poor. From the beginning, that's what it was. That's what it's been. That's the whole thing. But the Democrats did not effectively counter-argument, even though they stood together and all voted against it. But if you were to effectively counter-argue, you may have been able to chip away 1 or 2 more Republicans on your side. And if you didn't, okay, well, guess what? In the next election, you sweep because you were crystal clear. We're against this war declared on the middle class, and we don't want to raise your taxes while the rich get away with all the money.